In the previous video, you could see that block scoping can become really confusing when used with function declarations. So what we're going to do here, we're going to replace function declarations with function expressions, like that. Now, the problem is that if you use var, it's going to ignore all the curly braces that we use into create blocks. So var is definitely not the right choice. So instead of var, let's use let. And we know that let works just fine with block scoping. So normally you would use something else called const, which we will come back to later. But for now, let's just use let because that's the one that we covered so far in ES6. So let's replace all the function declarations using this function expression. All right, so now let's save. Okay, so we're getting an error there saying that greet is not defined. That's because there is no hoisting when it comes to declaring variables using let. So let's just comment this line for now. And now let's see what happens. So when we call greet right there, we get hi. And that's what you would expect because you are setting greet right there, or the variable greet right there. And then inside this block scope, we've got hello right there. That's expected. And when you call greet there, it doesn't have access to this block. So it's going to look in the same scope where it's called, and it's being called in the global scope. So it's using that function expression. And finally, when you call greet again, you don't have access to this block. All right. And you're using the function expression, which is in the same scope, which is the global scope. So now we're getting hi right there. We're getting hi right there in the global scope. And we are getting hello there. So it all makes sense now when using let. So it's a lot easier to use let with a function expression instead of a function declaration when working with block scoping. Now, again, when the function doesn't change, instead of using let, it's better to use const, but that's something that we're going to cover later on in another video.